Oh, it's
Welcome
time.
to Radical Comment of the Week for
Time
April
to
28th through May the 4th.
radical.
These are the best comments from that week. Starting out with the three honorable mentions, we have first up, Serba42. Final Fantasy VII Remake so far looks good, but I have to disagree and say it's a system seller. I was holding out on getting a PS4 until it had more exclusives. I later decided not to get one at all ever since Sony started censoring content to pander to the blue-haired mental illness haircut people. I do want to play it. I know it won't be the same as 7. I feel like PS1 Final Fantasy VII can never be topped. A lot of this, though, is coming from nostalgia. It was the first game I ever played that showed me video games can make stories you can be emotionally attached to. I know for a fact that we will never hear Tifa say the word retard like in the original. I'm also going to wait for the entire story to be re-released on PC. I know it'll take like 5 years, but I want to play the whole story. I also want the classic Tifa outfit I know someone will eventually mod. As for Sony, if they have more exclusives, I will buy a PS5. A big reason I didn't get an Xbox is because all their games are on PC, and the PC doubles as a workstation for me. Same goes for a PS4. Besides the needless censorship, the games that were supposed to be system sellers are now on Steam. Right now their biggest selling point is The Last of Us 2. Sorry I don't feel like playing as butch man looking girls. I also want to play video games, not watch an interactive movie. Fuck, I'll settle for Knack 3 at this point. You know what I will play? PS1 to PS3 and the Vita. There's a reason why I still have those systems. Games. Actual games. Artistic liberty. Exclusives. Exclusives! Okay, Serbot42, I'm not sure if you meant it is a system seller at the beginning or is not a system seller. Great comment, but I need you to come verify if you meant to say it is a system seller for you or not a system seller. Thank you. Next up, M. Hage. When I was a waiter back in the early 2000s, I think our nightly wage was $2.50 an hour. That's right, we got paid below minimum wage because our tips balanced it out and brought us over. If YouTubers want to use Patreon, they should have to forego a percentage of ad revenue if they want to be paid like waiters. By activating Patreon, they should only receive 33% of their total ad revenue before taxes. Then it would be comparable to being a waiter. Is it just me, but why does it seem like millennials have never worked? Their comparisons to real jobs indicate they have never had one. The real problem is this generation of parenting that has allowed every broke fool to think he is too wealthy for work. Here we call them 20K a year millionaires. They lease a Mercedes while raising 3 kids in a 2-bedroom apartment with no savings or intention to purchase a home. Their kids don't brag about their careers. They brag about how much imaginary money their dad has. They refer to their parents as and house as their crib, and their parents as and their parents' car as their whip. And should their parents be out of town, they pretend that they don't exist. They would have been better off if their parents kicked them out at 18, so at least they would learn the values of hard work and self-respect. Wood probably despises his evil parents because they dared to insist he put down his controller, stop dyeing his black emo hair, take off the mascara, and get a real job. Fast forward 10 years and yesterday's emo has become a modern-day e-beggar. Are we starting to see a pattern here? Thank you, Image. Next up, with the final honorable mention, we have Rusty Shackelford. I love it when YouTubers compare themselves to streaming services like Netflix, Amazon, Hulu. There are drastic differences between these streaming services and these YouTubers. Streaming services require a lot of production and labor, which costs money. First of all, these streaming services have to pay a percentage in order to provide the content they provide. Second, they have to pay production costs to produce the content they provide. This especially applies to original series exclusives to the streaming services. Third, they have to pay for any actors/actresses. Fourth, they have to pay the production crew people. Fifth, they have to pay for people to operate these streaming services. Seriously, do these YouTubers think one person works and just hits a switch just to run the service? This is why we pay for these services. Do YouTubers have to go through any of this? No. It's not like they have to pay YouTube to upload videos. It's a free service where anyone can upload a video. These YouTubers don't have to worry about operating YouTube or paying people to operate the services. Google is responsible for paying those people to operate YouTube in order to ensure these fuckers get to upload a video on YouTube. Also, these YouTubers, especially gaming channels, don't have to worry about a company coming after them for showing their games or consoles, etc. If a streaming service, television show, or movie were to show a Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox, Apple product, they would have to either request permission and or pay royalties to use the product. Do these YouTubers have to pay royalties? No. So I find it laughable when these entitled fuckers believe their fucking garbage they claim to be content is worthy of their audience's money. If anything, these entitled fuckers should pay their audience for watching their fucking garbage. There is also a big difference between producing a show or movie that provides entertainment through storytelling and character development versus uploading a YouTube video talking about your games that people probably bought for you. Thank you, Rusty Shackelford. Moving right along into the medal ceremony, we have the bronze medal going to Frag Taster. Frag Taster says, I played the demo of Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I have beaten the actual game. I also just recently replayed through the original Final Fantasy VII on PS4 again, after 15 years since I last played it. It's a beautiful game, has a solid battle engine, and is chock full of content, but, to be frank, the remake was underwhelming to me. I actually prefer the Trials of Mana remake that recently released over it. Square Enix changed a lot of what happened in the original Final Fantasy VII and utterly removed some massive story notes at the end, replacing them with new plot twists I didn't appreciate. I get it's not a remake, but rather a reimagining. I also appreciated that they're trying to make this game fresh for old school fans as much as it is for people who have never played the original and this is their first experience. But that being said, I vastly preferred the story and events of the original 1997 game over this one. I preferred the turn-based combat. I preferred that beautiful classic soundtrack. I preferred pace of the original over the new one. Final Fantasy VII Remake is the best Final Fantasy game since Final Fantasy 10? I don't know. The Roman numerals. Yeah. No doubt about it, and it's an excellent game, but I was still disappointed. I've waited 20 years for a Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I'm not impressed with that they provided here. I hated having to spend the whole game in Midgar, my least favorite part of the original release. Just the episodic nature of it turns me off. Whereas I recently played the Trials of Mana remake, and it was everything I wanted, and I experienced in a truly great remake. Playing Trials of Mana remake was honestly been a lot more fun than Final Fantasy VII Remake was. Well, that's one I need to look up. The Trials of Mana remake, everyone's told me it's just fantastic. So, what is it available on? Is it just available on PS4? I don't have a PS4 currently. Is it also on Xbox One? Let me know there, Frag Taster. That's one I really I'm curious about. Well, what do you do? Okay? There's a lot of people over here that say, you know what, we don't need the same exact game with better graphics from 20 years ago. We don't need that same exact game. Then there's people over here saying, we do want that same exact game. We love the original. We want it to stay as close to the original as possible. So you got two camps here that they try to make happy. And at some point, you're going to fail in making everybody happy. Now, personally, what I would have wanted, I'm kind of like you. I prefer the turn-based combat. I like the original. Maybe with some tweaks. You take the original, all right? You keep the turn-based combat. You keep the same character designs, even though, admittedly, it's hard to translate those blocky polygonal characters to current designs. You know, you can't keep it exactly, right? But some of the character designs, I just look at them like, don't look like that person. It just, I don't know. It's going to feel like a different game regardless of what you do. But if you're actually going to have a true remake, let it be a remake. Taster. Next up with the silver medalist, we have Costech. Opening a video game museum, or any museum really, in theory is the best way to preserve the past for all to enjoy. Sure, that way people can physically interact with that past. I mean, that's how other museums work, right? It's one thing to hear about a dinosaur. It's another to experience it firsthand, well, its fossil remains anyway. But when it comes to retro vintage video games and computers, it just may not be that feasible. Sure, those kinds of museums already exist thanks to a very, very dedicated and passionate set of people. They're just not going to appeal to the masses in the same way. While you may go visit your local historical museum a handful of times in life, and may even visit others during your travels, you're probably going to visit a retro gaming computing museum once or twice, period. You're not going to be on vacation in New York and visit their gaming museum, then when you're in Prague, stop and visit theirs. Super Mario Bros. Is the same in both locations. Even if that museum hosts a specific hidden gem that no other museum has, not enough people are going to care to make it worth it. The best way to preserve gaming and computing history is digitally. You can easily copy most physical games and software and create images out of them. Most retro systems can easily be emulated and over time get better. The Internet Archive is a great example of preservation. And there are countless other sites that are more dedicated to specific systems. This is because for most people, for the most part, it's accessible to anyone with an internet connection. No need to physically show up someplace. No need to physically store things. Yeah, experiencing it firsthand is almost always preferred over experiencing it virtually, but it's just not always feasible or practical. Collect what you're really passionate about if you want to experience it firsthand. The Sega Master System you've always wanted, that Amiga 1200 you drool over when you were a kid, etc., and play the rest digitally. Like I've said before, I can see the appeal of a game museum. I can see, I'm interested to see maybe some of the first game consoles, maybe, what they look like, maybe touching them, feeling them, kind of seeing the tech that was behind it. They are relics, all right? That's interesting, I think, on some level. But how interesting is it? Is a video game museum going to be like plopped in the middle of Times Square? Is it going to be a big attraction? You got to have it be something special. And, I guess it could be done, but how many of these are really going to be special? For instance, the one John Hancock is releasing, working on for 2024, what's going to make it special versus other gaming museums? When he is asked that question, like, what's the answer? Hey, John, what's going to make your museum a little different than other gaming museums currently out there? Crickets. Because he doesn't fucking know. He doesn't fucking know. He's going to take his games, his cardboard, his plastic, and plop it somewhere. And what's going to make it a special experience versus something else? Now, you say the best way to preserve things is digitally. Ooh, ROMs. Ooh, dirty, dirty ROMs. Let me tell you something. If you think these Nintendo and Sega consoles are going to last hundreds of years into the future, no. If you think these discs that are pressed with this data is going to stand the test of time, even under pristine conditions, you're wrong. Disc rot is a thing. All right? Things that are made, things that are, pressed onto disc, a lot of this stuff has to be preserved and multiplied digitally. Or the disc has to have to be constantly copied. There has to be... People just have this idea that things are going to be immortal. These games, these consoles are going to be immortal. How many CDIs are still fucking working, okay? A lot of these consoles were not meant to last. They have batteries that when they die inside the system, you're fucked. This stuff, I think when they were producing a lot of this stuff in the 90s, they didn't think that so many people in the future would worship these old games and these old consoles like they do. I didn't think that was a thought. They just kind of want to mass produce these things and sell them for people to enjoy. Last up, we got that shiny, shiny gold medal. And it's well earned by Destroyer of Heroes. All right. Destroyer of Heroes says, please allow me to break it all down. Ahem. Here's where we are now with all this. Calling out e-beggars started to make big waves. This brought in much activity to channels, and activity equals money. This is what brought in the clout chasers community, who like to refer to themselves as the commentary channels. These guys are failed YouTubers who are trying to reinvent themselves and make a name for themselves finally and get some sweet YouTube monies. So they try to act as a news source and report on both sides. The problem is they are failed YouTubers. Duh. They lack intelligence, charisma, insight, and they do not do their research. They contradict themselves and make fools of themselves in every video they make. So right now, you got Darius versus Overthink. I'll easily explain to you how unintelligent Overthink looks in all of this and why he's in a battle that he can never win. Darius has nothing to lose. He smokes weed in his videos and he trolls people. He's not begging for money. He's not begging for viewers, so guys like Overthink and Top Loader can only try to play some SJW card and try to shame him for trying to do something that is immoral for an upstanding YouTuber to do. How do you even do that to somebody who isn't trying to make money on the platform? The problem is Overthink is trying to pitch himself as a real gaming channel. He's also trying to pitch himself as an artist. Everything he's doing hurts himself more than it does Darius. Overthink should stop even talking about Darius, but he can't because he is obsessed with trying to get back at Darius. Can't leave the immoral altered beast hack guy Johnny Paycheck out of this, so this guy deletes his channel and then joins up with Top Loader. He says he's coming back to expose Canadian Gamer, and then he's leaving for good. Yeah, right. Well, he pretty much just becomes an anti-CG channel because CG hurt his feelings. Oh, and he deleted his old channel so that guys like CG and Darius couldn't use his own videos back against him. Let's just say that there's things that Immoral did that would make him look very much like a complete hypocrite if he left them up. Most people here know this. I'd have respected the guy if he just left, but for him to be pro Top Loader demolishes any level of respect he ever achieved. You sum things up for me. You came here 3 months ago, and admittedly, I was kind of out of the loop. I was out of the loop of a lot of things happening outside of this channel. Now, many of you know I stick to this channel mostly. I stick to this channel mostly when it comes to the community out around the channel with, I don't know. I have only so much time in the day. I've said this many times before. It's fucking, 1:07 p.m., okay? I got maybe 30 more minutes to upload this. I only have so much time in the day. And in that time, I try my best to entertain my audience. Sometimes I have good days where I'm very entertaining. Sometimes you can tell I'm just kind of like a bit distracted by actual life. No apologies. I think I do the best I can. And one of those things that people want me to do is speak out against e-beggars. Speak out against e-beggars. Rick, check out this e-beggar. Check out this e-beggar. Check out this big e-beggar. All of them. You gotta squeeze in all of them. And then I did that. And I kept doing it. And I became really good at doing it. So damn good. There was other people that saw that and they said, you know what? That guy, he's fucking entertaining. We're not that entertaining. We're not that charismatic. But I think we can probably do it too. We can try to copy that formula too. One person that comes to mind is early January Smash JT. You know, he's not the only one, but people came by here to try to copy this exact formula and they fell flat on their face. You know why they did? They don't have the same code of morals and ethics that I do. They don't hold people accountable equally. They don't have a core there. They just care about, getting YouTube ad revenue, getting views, all that stuff. That's all they care about. They don't care about it, the core, like I said, holding everybody accountable for what they do. If you have a critical satire channel, for instance, there comes a time when you have to call people in your own community out. And I did that. You have to do things you don't want to do. And then you have to suffer the consequences of doing those things that you don't have to do. Some people are not willing to do that. There's someone that did make this medal ceremony, did make the honorable mention, Silent Siri, that said basically, there were certain people that used to be proud members of this community that they were basically covering for each other. I had this stupid idea back in 2019, and I started to see that my arguments were taking off. My arguments against e-begging, my arguments against Patreon, my arguments against people just being dishonest. And that third thing is the most important thing. A lot of people will try to summarize this channel as just that guy who speaks out against e-beggars. No, it's a guy who speaks out against dishonesty and con men, all right? If I was just speaking out against e-beggars, wouldn't every video be about Darkside Phil? A lot of people don't get that, but I'll reveal that to you all right now. It's dishonesty. It's people putting on fucking fronts. That's what disgusts me more than anything else. The e-begging is just like a side effect of that. It's just a part of it. But it's the dishonesty. Think back to the Metal Jesus uploads in late 2018. Now, Metal Jesus had a Patreon before that, but it really wasn't the Patreon. It was the fact he was deceiving people to send money to him because of his fucking basement leak. All right? Think about Wood Hawker. He had a Patreon years ago, but I wasn't speaking out on his Patreon. No, it's the fact that he manipulates his audience into sending him gifts with his fucking little fake depression. All right? And people do have depression, by the way. Some people out there will actually say that depression is not a fucking thing. Believe it or not, some people will actually claim that clinical depression is not a thing because they're fucking retarded. Yeah, I said it. Okay? Yeah, I said it. Can I just call it like it is? Some people on YouTube are just fucking retarded. Either they're just stupid, or they're pretending or trying to be stupid, or they're trolls. It's hard to tell sometimes. But I'm not afraid to just call motherfuckers retarded if they're acting retarded. I'm not afraid to call people out. To do this and to do this successfully, you can't be afraid to call motherfuckers out.